Good morning and welcome to Out of the Box. And today our guest is some great people from Hoyt Sherman Place. We're going to talk about Hoyt Sherman Place as the crown jewel of Des Moines. I'm a little biased, of course, living in the Sherman Hill neighborhood and having had some significant life events at Hoyt Sherman Place, but they also have great concerts and things like that. So I'd like to welcome my guests, Mary Gazarek, who is the Director of Development for Hoyt Sherman Place, and Allison Fagley, who is the Event and Sales Manager. I always have, sorry. Anyway, but this is an exciting show because Hoyt Sherman Place is something that people don't talk about very much. It's been around a long time. It hosts a lot of great events, and it's sometimes thought of as kind of a best-kept secret. And really, the two ladies that I have with me today, their job is to make sure that isn't the case anymore. So we're going to help them do that by talking about Hoyt Sherman Place and really where it's been in Des Moines history, but also where it's going and what people can expect when they come to visit. My favorite thing is the fact that there's a large parking lot, so you don't have to walk too far, which I really like. And there are great entertainment venues in Des Moines, of course, and Hoyt Sherman is right there at the top of the list. So let's get started. And welcome, ladies. How are you this morning?
Good.
Thanks for joining me at this wee hour, or at least it seems that way. I went to bed late, but anyway. So I don't know which one of you first wants to take the question, but my first question is, what is Hoyt Sherman Place and how is it set up? Because it seems like there's like three entities kind of all thrown into one place.
Absolutely. I think that's what makes Hoyt Sherman Place a little more challenging than other organizations, because we do have the theater, which is what we're most well known for, hosting concerts and dance recitals and all kinds of different big events for the community. And then we also have the art gallery, which is on the west side of the facility. That gets used for weddings, receptions, dinners.
The Moxie Exchange
movement
event
that Brooke has monthly at Hoyt Sherman Place. So just a variety of different things. And then the core center part of the building is the original mansion that Hoyt Sherman built for his family. So it is kind of a museum as well as an event space. So it makes it really interesting. There's a lot of unique challenges and unique things to do at work that not a lot of other event centers would have. So,
yeah, it's quite the place in my opinion, and I love it living in Sherman Hill. I love it when I see the people with the tutus walking down the street to head towards Hoyt Sherman, because they have their dance recital there, and so it's a great venue, and those students get the opportunity to actually be on stage and experience exactly what that's like. It may be the first time they've ever done it. But so how did for a long time Hoyt Sherman Place became the Des Moines Women's Club, and they were synonymous. How has that changed?
Well, about 10 years ago, the foundation was formed. The Hoyt Sherman Foundation was formed. And the foundation took over the day-to-day operations of the facility. So the Des Moines Women's Club is still a very integral part of what makes Hoyt Sherman great. And they meet every Wednesday. And
Every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday.
Oh, my.
And we have members from the Women's Club there probably every day. They are an amazing group of women who work incredibly hard for Hoyt Sherman. They decorate the facility beautifully at Christmas time. They make sure that everything runs in terms of, when they have events, they take it over, all of it. They just had their 105th art exhibition. And if you think about that, that's pretty amazing. They've been a part of Hoyt Sherman for well over 100 years. And they're the ones that were responsible for building the two galleries and building the theater, which is celebrating its 90th anniversary this summer. So they are a big part of it.
And they volunteer.
They volunteer.
I know that when I show up for Moxie once a month, there's a volunteer there that makes sure that
Right.
I'm welcomed. And so But they still call it home technically.
Right.
But the foundation was formed for what reason?
The foundation was formed to handle the day-to-day operations. We raise the money for the facility. We book all the events in the theater and the galleries. We make sure all the maintenance is done to preserve the facility, the galleries, the mansion, the theater. The staff is all considered foundation staff. And Venue Works actually owns, which is based out of Ames, actually has the contract for the operations of Hoyt Sherman, and so it all works really well together. We have a board of directors that has a fiduciary responsibility for the foundation, and it works really well. It works really well. We work hand in hand together.
So let's talk a little bit about how people don't know about Hoyt Sherman and what you're doing to kind of combat that. I mean, unless somebody goes to a concert there or a wedding there, they may not be exposed, and they may drive by it every day on their way to work when they go down Crocker Cottage Grove, but they don't really know what goes on there. What kind of things are you doing to just raise awareness? Especially in a day and age where awareness is half the battle with raising funds.
Right. Well, I'm going to have Allison speak to the first part of that about raising awareness.
I think that prior to 2003, there were a lot of people that didn't know what Hoyt Sherman Place was. In 2003, we renovated the theater. The theater was 80 years old at that point. And over the years, it had kind of been covered over with different shades of beige and tan paint. It was not the spectacular theater that you see today. And so we did a capital campaign and raised money to restore that theater to its original luster. And since then, we've just increased events just more and more each year. I've been at Hoyt Sherman Place for almost 5 years and have just seen it in 5 years. There's so many more events than the day I walked in the door, and it's a really great it's really great to see that. So I think on my side of it, through booking events and trying to reach out to local clients and say, hey, why don't you bring your group here, and that would be a good way to get some people in town to know more about the space or know more what it has to offer. I think that's kind of on the event side. That's what we're trying to do, is just get the word out, get more people in the door, because the facility really speaks for itself. Once you're in it, you're kind of amazed you've never been in it before, but it's just that battle of getting people in the door. So,
and for a lot of people too, when we were talking about the dance recitals, a lot of people will say to us, oh my gosh, I haven't been here since I was in a dance recital. Or
Oh my
I've been to
gosh.
so many dance recitals over the years for my grandchildren. Or and the other thing is too is that we also have really invested in doing more with social media. We've really tried to make sure that our website handles everything that anyone could be looking for in regards to Hoyt Sherman. Becky Migas, who works with Allison very closely, has done a great job with the marketing aspects. It's always a challenge, working with promoters, to make sure that we're able to get the information out about the events, so that we can reach as many people as possible. We have 2 different kinds of audiences that we look for when we're doing our fund development. One is our members, people who come to the events at Hoyt Sherman in the theater, who look at this opportunity as a way to support the organization, but also to as a way to know more about advanced ticket sales, things like that, so that they're up on what's coming down the road. We also have members who are just there as supporters of Hoyt Sherman. And then we also have donors who, not so much in terms of what's going on in the theater as just being supportive of the organization as a whole and wanting to make sure that the historical site is preserved. And so we're very fortunate in that regard, and we're doing more and more to cultivate donors and members and to also thank them for being a part of our organization. That's what, when Allison said, if we just get them in the door, it's amazing. The facility is so beautiful. And I know from day one, I've just only been there about a year, when you're driving in every day, you just feel very lucky to be in such a gorgeous facility. The history there is so rich, and the stories there are so great. And, I think you could be there for a lot of years and still always learn something new about the history and the people that have been through the doors and the different performers that have been there all the way back to Helen Keller and Amelia Earhart and all the way up to, Maya Angelou and the people who are there today, all the different groups that are there today. And so there's so much history steeped in that building. And it's just an amazing place to be. Right now we're doing an art restoration project. We have about 51 pieces of art that we're having restored right now through a conservator in Chicago. And, we take very seriously our role as the
Sure.
people who are there to preserve the facility. And so when they come back, it's amazing. We've had the first 4 go and come back, and we have 4 more there right now of the paintings. And the richness of the color when they come back is amazing. So, there's things like that that just really make you realize what good caregivers you need to be of the organization to make sure that it's still here in another 100 years.
Let's talk a little bit about the art collection. It's kind of an unsung collection, really. And how did it come to be, and what does the collection do, and who owns it?
The foundation owns it. It was part of the transition, but the story behind it I think is very interesting. When after Hoyt Sherman had passed away, and the city bought the mansion from the family, and they offered it to the Des Moines Women's Club, who was at that time had been started, but was meeting in different venues around the city. They leased it to them for $1 a year. And so they went in and renovated and, of course, added on the first gallery. And the city did it with the understanding, leased the building to the Des Moines Women's Club with the understanding that they would create the first public art gallery in Des Moines that would be open to the public. And so they did. The women were amazing. They went to Chicago with the help of a curator and purchased their first pieces of art. And over the years, it's grown by different ways. It's been pictures that they purchased or things that were given to them and, have increased in value over the years. The second gallery was built when General Byers, who was good friends with all 3 of the Sherman brothers, and of course was a kind of foreign ambassador at the time, he donated his collection to the Women's Club. And so the back gallery, which is we call the Byers Gallery, houses all of their paintings and pieces of furniture. And just over the years, several times, the art has been restored when needed, and that's what we're doing right now is doing the restoration. So we've had some people that have adopted paintings,
Wow.
that they've come
That's a
in
great
and said,
idea.
I want to make sure that this one gets done, and they've given the funding for that, which has been great. We've also received a lot of donations for the restoration, and it was started by a bequest by a women's club member who the art collection was very near and dear to her. And when she passed away, she left a bequest that started the project this time. So it's an ongoing process while we are looking for additional funds, but the whole restoration will cost about $63,000.
Wow.
So
And so those paintings really represent a diverse group of artists, isn't that correct? I mean, there are some real jewels in there because back when they bought them, they had no idea what they would be worth today. Is that
right? And one of the paintings was sold about the same time as the Capitol campaign for the restoration and created the foundation, the endowment for the foundation.
That's awesome.
And so there are some very valuable pieces in the collection, which is wonderful, and it is always open to the public. People can come in during the day and
see, I didn't
around.
realize that. So what are the hours? When can they come to the gallery?
The building is technically open 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. every
okay.
weekday. So people can come through and just look at the artwork. I think we have several people that just come and kind of use it as a quiet place to relax on their lunch break. There's one lady that comes over at one day a week always and sits and reads her book and has her lunch and just kind of relaxes in the space. So it really is a nice space to, as long as we don't have an event going on, to just kind of come and enjoy the beauty of the facility. But There's always also a women's club member, as you mentioned, that is usually there to answer any questions or help you, make sure to not miss certain important parts of the building to look at. So
Yeah, it's an impressive place. If you haven't been there, it's one of Des Moines' best kept secrets. So let's talk though for just a second about Hoyt Sherman. I think there's a lot of confusion about who he was, what he did, why he built it. So how did it come to be?
Well, Hoyt Sherman was originally from Ohio. He moved to Des Moines kind of when Des Moines was just barely a town.
A cow town?
And kind of got the city
Mud paths,
got the
yes.
city started. He and his wife Sarah was from Iowa, so that was the connection that brought him to Iowa. And he was kind of the first businessman in Des Moines. He built Equitable Iowa Life Insurance, the first railroad, the first school, the first post office, bank, waterworks. I mean, kind of
College.
all of
So
those.
he was an innovator.
Yeah, kind of all of those things that it would take to start a community. He had his hands in. So he was a big name in Des Moines for sure. And then in 1877 was when he completed his mansion. He first bought the 5 acres of land in the 1850s for $105 for 5 acres of his land.
Oh my gosh.
And built his mansion on that land. It's obviously a much smaller plot now, but I mean, that was completed in 1877. And another interesting thing, he had some famous brothers. William Tecumseh Sherman, the famous Civil War general, was a brother of Hoyt's, and so had Hoyt hosted William and some of the other generals, General Grant, and quite a few famous figures at the mansion. And his other brother, John Sherman, was the creator of the Sherman Antitrust Act. So they were very active in politics and military, and just a very active family, and got a lot of things done. So
That's awesome.
There's one story about when General Grant was getting on in years that he visited Hoyt Sherman, and soldiers came from around the Midwest and waited all day on the lawn to go in and shake his hand.
Oh my.
And they eventually, they walked from the Capitol down here and to see General Grant, and they stood in line. They just stood all day long until they had a chance to go through and thank him. So there was some pretty impressive stories that came out of the early days. And especially, they were also host to anyone that came into Des Moines, that the people sought Hoyt Sherman out and wanted to visit him or knew him. And so I'm sure if the walls could talk, there'd be a lot of great stories that would come out of it. When the theater was built, they actually took 10 feet off of the east side of the house. And so when you go in and you think about that, it was you just can imagine,
Yeah.
The men sitting around the library and talking about politics and how to change the world and how to change Des Moines and how to make life better. And so you just, it's amazing how it's just sometimes you can just walk through and just kind of visualize what it must have been like.
And how did the performance space come to be? It wasn't part of the original house. How did that all happen?
The theater was built, I think, as a twofold, because the women's club at the time was about 1,400 members. And so they needed a space where they could all gather. And so the original seating in the theater were 1,400 seats. And they set a seat for every person. And then when the renovations, now it's 1,250 because we gave more room in between the rows as people's legs have grown longer and things like that.
So, not quite so dainty anymore.
Yes, not so dainty. And then also, too, as a venue, that they also identified that Des Moines was in need of a mid-sized theater. And it was and still is one of the only, it's the only historical mid-sized theater that's in our community. And at the time was something that was greatly needed in the community back when it was built in 1923. So that's how the theater came to be. And the women, were amazing in the fact that they financed all this by themselves as the club.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, yep.
Yep.
And one of the best stories, I think, is back in 1907, the Home for the Aged needed $1,000 to stay open in one day. So the women's club members went out into the community, got on the trolley cars, walked through downtown, and raised $1,000 in one day. And if you think about that, in way back then, that was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money. So
they-
well, and the women's club members have been known for being very assertive about their needs. So
Right,
anyway,
right.
Absolutely.
well, we're going to take a quick break
Okay.
and let you get a drink of water, and we'll be back in just a minute to talk more about Hoyt Sherman Place, Des Moines' crown jewel.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager
I'm the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Welcome back to Out of the Box, and today we're talking to Mary Gazarek, Director of Development for Hoyt Sherman Place, and Allison Fagley, who is the Event and Sales Manager for the facility. And if you haven't been to Hoyt Sherman, even if you just don't go for an event, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a fabulous place to hold a meeting, wedding, reception, check out a concert. And I think that's the one thing that I guess I'd like to talk about right now is how Hoyt Sherman has really become part of the venue scene in Des Moines. I had the opportunity to see a couple of people in concert there and heard later that they said that was the best house they'd ever played in. So what the kind of people that are using a 1,250 seat performance venue, what are they looking for when they decide to book Hoyt Sherman?
Well, we do a lot of singer-songwriters, you know, kind of not necessarily a large band, but maybe a guitar and a few.
But I've heard some large bands coming out of
Yes.
Hoyt Sherman.
Yes.
I live in the neighborhood and I can hear it from my house.
Wonder what's going on there tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we've done all spectrums of things at Hoyt Sherman Place on that stage. we've done everything from a bodybuilding competition to a dance recital. We do graduation ceremonies, and then, concerts, comedy, all kinds of different things. But I would say our typical show is probably singer-songwriter. We've done Brandi Carlisle 3 times. She does fantastic in the space. Just a really good, a little quieter, more acoustic. You can really hear the sounds well. We've heard many performers say that the space is fantastic acoustically, and actually Brandi Carlisle unplugged and did one song completely unplugged on the stage in the space, and it was fantastic. The acoustics really are wonderful from a performer standpoint. When you're on that stage, you can hear everything, and your voice is traveling up to the even top row of the balcony, which is where I usually get to sit for shows. And then also comedy does really well at Hoyt Sherman Place. If you watch any comedy specials, it kind of has the look of those theaters that a lot of comedians are doing, and it's a good size, so it can be a good laughter, a good response for a comedian, but also still intimate, and they feel like they're not just this anonymous person on stage. So that works really well. I've really seen a lot of that increase over the years, kind of with the help of our management company, Venue Works, has really kind of put us in touch with different people who could bring us different shows, and that's the number of people that we're working with in that respect has grown over the years. So we really are getting a lot more shows, a lot bigger diversity of shows today than we definitely were 5 years ago when I started.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, and I'm always amazed at people who end up at Hoyt Sherman Place. Tegan and Sarah were at Hoyt Sherman Place, and they play a lot of big venues, and they liked Hoyt Sherman Place. It was a good place for them. Gordon Lightfoot's coming on May 1st, right? May 1st.
Yep.
And I've actually seen him at the Civic Center, and I think it will be interesting to see him at Hoyt Sherman Place and how that intimate venue makes his concert different, because there is something to the fact that a venue does create. It's not just the artist, but the venue creates it. So what kind of experience can someone expect when they come to Hoyt Sherman?
It's a very intimate experience. You can really see well from anywhere that you're located in the theater. I always tell people when I'm subbing in the box office that our theater, if you've been to the Civic Center for a show, we have about half as many rows. So our last row is going to be halfway back at the Civic Center for kind of a comparison. So really, any seat you're close enough to the stage that you can see very well. The balcony covers the back half of the main floor, so the balcony's just a little higher, but no further back than any other seat. And I mentioned before, the acoustics are great, and it really is. I mean, I've seen the artists interacting with the audience a lot more than say at a big arena or something like that. They can really kind of see the person in the front row and see them having a good time and kind of incorporate that into their set of shows. And
the front row is right there.
It is pretty close to the stage.
I mean,
for sure.
there's no orchestra pit. It makes a huge difference to have that kind of, you're right there. You don't really need to bring opera glasses to look at anything. So, this coming year, what kind of highlights are there for entertainment at Hoyt Sherman? I mean, if people had to pick one thing this year that's on the books already, what should they be looking at coming to?
Well, let's see. We were pretty well booked through early summer, but we don't have anything confirmed yet for the fall. We're a little different than the Civic Center in that we don't have a season of shows. Right. We kind of we know what we're doing for the next 4 or 5 months, and then a few months later we'll have a good fall lineup planned or whatever. So coming up, we've got Tracy Morgan this Friday night. He was on 30 Rock and is also a pretty famous comedian, so that should be an interesting show for sure. And then Max Wellman is coming on March 23rd, as we're kind of doing it in conjunction as a donor thank you event, as well as kind of a reprise of his very successful concert that he had 3 years ago.
And Max is from Des Moines.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And he's bringing his big band.
Yep, it'll be
Wow.
a big band show. It'll be really fun. He did in the summer 3 years ago. He did a big show with his big band, and it was great, very well received, lots of fun. So if you're looking for some good entertainment, that should be a good one. And then April will be really busy for us. We've got David Sedaris coming. We've got a run of Menopause the Musical coming back. We've got 3 shows of that. And we've got a show called The Impractical Jokers. It's a show that's on True TV. They do kind of pranks and go out into the community and do, I don't know, kind of dare each other to do different things. It's pretty well received. But I wasn't familiar with the show, and then kind of looked up some videos. But we've sold lots of tickets so far. So
they have a following.
They definitely have a following. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then you mentioned Gordon Lightfoot in May. So we really do have quite a few great options coming up if people are looking for something to do. Definitely just check out our website, and we've got everything listed. And it seems like we're announcing new things every day. It's just getting really, I guess just yesterday we announced that Chris Mann from The Voice,
Yes.
he is coming in September on the 18th. Iowa Public Television just did a pledge drive video announcement with him last night. He was in the studio, and they kind of replayed his concert. So that's another exciting one that we just announced for fall. So definitely stay tuned, because we've got a lot of things in the works that we're hoping it'll be just as busy of a fall for us.
Well, I just love the fact that when I drive through, I'm driving home and I see the cars parking at Hoyt Sherman, and I feel bad when I don't know what's going on there. But it brings such vitality to the neighborhood, and there's a lot to do in the West End before a concert. Typically people think about going to Court Avenue and then going to the Civic Center. You can do the same exact thing with Hoyt Sherman Place. There's lots of great restaurants in the West End, or on Ingersoll for that matter. Gateway, Gusto, Americana, and then go take in a show at Hoyt Sherman Place, and not have quite the hassle parking that you might have some other places. So it's really an awesome venue in a way to make an entertainment date, if you will. So,
well, and as Allison mentioned too, there's also we have lots of dance recitals that come. We also have graduations that are held there.
That's coming up.
We have an outreach program for nonprofits that, we want to make sure that the venue is open to as many people as possible. So, we try to help them with the cost. And so we've had a lot of really fun events that have involved the nonprofits. Last year, I know I was sometimes, when the events are setting up, it's fun sometimes to sneak into the balcony and kind of watch, them get ready for that night's performance. And last year, one of the things that's always the most fun to watch is the way the children react when they first come out on stage, and they look up into the theater and they're wide-eyed, and all of a sudden it just hit them that they are on stage.
Yep.
And last year we had an organization that was a United Way program that utilized the facility, and it was fun because there were kids on the stage that were practicing their hip-hop act, and then all of a sudden one kid came in from the side and kind of stood there and looked up, and his eyes got really big, and then he walked a little farther onto the stage behind the kids that were practicing, and he looked up again. And I thought, it's those moments you just wish you had a camera to capture that, because there's just no way to explain, people's response to the ambiance of the theater. It's such a beautiful theater, and the setting is so much fun. There's some things that just are born to be on that stage, like the Nutcracker. When the Nutcracker was this last year, it's just perfect. It's just absolutely perfect on that stage. It's just exactly what you would imagine.
my kids went to Edmonds Academy of Fine Arts, which is now just Edmonds School. But at that time, there was a lot of fine arts. And Hoyt Sherman basically offered up the venue for them to do their school plays. So Pinocchio was done on that stage, and the kids built all the sets. And it was the venue and the people managing Hoyt Sherman really helped those children learn how to put on a production, and it was pretty priceless. But you're right, I do remember them looking at going for the first dress rehearsal, and they look out and they're like, okay, are there going to be people in all of those seats? And they actually did a really good job of filling the venue with neighbors and families, because it was within walking distance of the school. So it's nice that Hoyt Sherman is willing to kind of give back in that way.
It's very
So-
important to us.
Yep. So what I'd like to do is talk for just a minute about how you see the future maintenance, if you will, of Hoyt Sherman. It's definitely a period piece, if you will. It has to be more and more difficult as time goes by to keep it to the period. And I don't think people are really aware that there are some rules about what you have to do, because it's on the Register of Historic Places.
Mhm.
How does that play into really keeping the mansion as it is?
Well, it's an ongoing challenge, but it's something that the board is very dedicated to, and the staff is very dedicated to. We're very fortunate that we have Felix, who is our theater manager, knows exactly what it takes to maintain the theater and exactly what needs to be done and where we can go to get what we need. The same with the house. We do try to make sure that whenever there is an issue, that it's done in the proper way. We receive money from Save America's Treasures for the capital campaign to help with some of the infrastructure. We are going to be doing there's a couple of projects that we have coming up. One is involving the parking lot, on the east side of the building. We'll be getting a new sign and moving it, hopefully, with cooperation from the public entities, so that it can be moved to the corner of 15th and Woodland, so that it will then kind of be, an opening to Sherman Hill, and, that it will, kind of start, the entrance into the neighborhood.
Right.
And so we're really hoping that will come through, and that we'll be able to move it down there, so that it will free up more space in the parking lot, which is always, an issue when we have bigger events. But we're also going to be repaving. And, there's always ongoing maintenance to the building.
Well, and the
And-
grounds are so beautiful, just in
Grounds are
general. I mean,
beautiful.
I know some storms took some tolls on the trees, on the grounds, but overall, the grounds are just gorgeous and very, very well manicured and always pristine, if you will. I'm always
you.
jealous that the lawn is mowed when mine isn't. So,
Well, and it's something that, we do feel, we feel very much a part of the neighborhood and have been there for so many years. And I think it's very important to the organization that it does, maintain exactly what is needed. And so it's an ongoing process. And it's something, though, that we're very fortunate. The Women's Club maintained the building for so many years, and we have beautiful furnishings, and that's another reason why people love to come through. We have people that come through who have an interest in antiques just to look, because, there's beautiful pieces there. And, it's an ongoing challenge, but one that, we take very seriously. And so it will be there for a very, very long time.
that's cool. Well, it's a great segue. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the crown jewel and what's inside.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittiesusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little, until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to Outside the Box. I'm Brooke Ben-Scooter, and my guests today are from Hoyt Sherman Place in Des Moines. Fabulous museum, venue, all sorts of things. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the venue and take a look at some pictures so you get a sneak peek inside. I will just tell you, these pictures do not do this facility justice. So if you have a chance, you have a free afternoon, it doesn't cost anything to go through Hoyt Sherman Place. And Allison just mentioned during the break that they do tours. So why don't you tell me just real quickly about tours and how somebody might do that?
Yeah, if you'd like to do a tour of a group of 10 or more, we would get one of our docents to lead the tour for you. So it would just be $3 a person, and we would schedule for a docent to be on hand to give that tour, tell you kind of all of the secrets of the building. Yep, take you around room by room. And we have some fantastic docents that have a lot of great stories about the space. They're all women's club members, so they've been there longer than I have and know more about the building than I could ever know. So it's a really fun experience if you've got, they usually take about an hour. So, a morning or an afternoon when you want to get a group together. We've done groups of students. We've done groups from retirement communities, just groups of friends. So really anybody's welcome, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, let's take a look. This is kind of our version of a tour, but let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. And if this is the entryway staircase, and you can see the art hanging on the wall there. I would say that. Do you call this the grand staircase?
Yeah, it's definitely the most prominent staircase in the facility. We've done a lot of wedding photos on there.
Yes.
It's definitely a great space, and where the middle, kind of right by the bottom of the stairs, is where we always have a fantastic Christmas tree every year that the women put up.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of always where the location of my favorite tree is, because it's so big. That's the dining room that the family would have had their dinners in. It's actually the only room in the facility that has the original furnishing. So that is the dining room table that Hoyt would have dined at with his family, and all of the cabinets and kind of counters around are all original as well.
And in the wood along the side, too, there's botanicals that were carved into the wood, and each one is different.
Oh, wow.
And so we've had people that have come to just for that
look
purpose.
at that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And one of the other things I wanted to mention in the first slide were the arches were in the grand staircase. The one thing that's kind of interesting that I remember from just starting there was his attention to detail when he built the house. There's several different kinds of woods that are used in it. You'll see
definitely.
like at different points where there's all sorts of different woods that are together when he went in the different rooms. But also the arches carry throughout the whole entire house with the windows and the archways going from room to room. And it's just amazing, how he was before his time when he was designing a lot of the different things. In the basement, there's rooms, that each one had a purpose. So it's pretty fascinating.
Okay.
This is the library. It would have been where Hoyt did his studies. It was the room that he would have spent most of his time in. Also, you can see in the corner there, one of the doors that Mary mentioned, that does have actually 5 different kinds of wood in that door. So that's a great example of his use of the woodwork as well.
And if you could pull back that big rug, you would see there's just a lot of different, there's a huge design and a lot of different woods that were being done. So
Okay. And then this is the same room, but, right?
this is the parlor.
Yep. So just on the other side of the entryway, this would have been just kind of a sitting room that the family would have spent time in. It's also where our receptionist usually sits, just off to the right of the
Nice
picture
office,
there.
if you can
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yep. Okay, next, let's, I love this picture.
Yep. This is we call it the mirror room today. It would have been the family's music room. They were very musical, so when they would have had guests over for dinner or whatever, the evening entertainment would have been performances by the Sherman family members. And it didn't used to, when the home was original, it did not lead into the art gallery because the art gallery didn't exist yet, but it is now the main entrance towards the art gallery space. It's just an outdoor view of the facility. You can see kind of the theater on the right-hand side there, and then on the left-hand side is the mansion, and you can't really see much of the art gallery in this one.
Oh, that's tiny, but anyway.
Smaller picture of the art gallery.
But it's a really big art gallery,
Right.
and
Two significant rooms.
those walls are all lined with photos that allow you to, I mean, not photos, paintings. And when you walk into the space, even though this photo is small, it's pretty breathtaking, I think, to walk in for the first time if you've never been there, especially if you can do it on a sunny day when the light's pouring in from the southwest.
It's a beautiful room. There was just a pop-up restaurant that received a lot of publicity that was done, and it was the actual dinner was in that room, and it was amazing how it made it look very much like something that you would walk into in New Orleans. I mean, the
cool.
room is amazing how it can just take on the ambience of what someone is looking for. You know, if it's through the wedding reception or through a special event, you know, it just is, it's a beautiful room.
Yep. Well, and this is the man himself.
Yep, Hoyt Sherman.
This is a much better photo of the gallery, and this is the back gallery, right?
The buyer's gallery.
Yep. And it has a skylight.
It does.
Which is pretty kind of unusual, isn't it?
The Women's Club did. They did that back in 1923. And of course, you can see the artifacts that came from the buyer's collection. And through his travels, the different things that he was given, the pieces of art.
It really, just to spend time in this room is really an incredible piece of history.
Right. Well, and you know, the person that it was named for, Mr. Byers, General Byers, was an amazing person who was also well published. And over the years, we've been very, very lucky to receive many of his first editions.
Oh, wow.
And we just received 2 more this past week from Sarah Hill, who has been very generous in that regard to us, and books of poetry. And you think about how difficult it is to write poetry and the fact that he had several published. And in the front of it was kind of fun because there was an inscription to the Chamberlain family as a Christmas present from Major Byers. And then also, too, it said in there, like, the prices of the books were like $1 or $1.25.
Wow.
And, you know, that in order to get one, you could either contact the publisher or contact Mr. Byers himself in Des Moines, Iowa. So no address or zip code needed.
Yeah, you
so.
just know that they're in Des Moines, Iowa somewhere.
Right,
so,
right.
Okay. Is that all? Okay. Well, this is a jewel. This is what the house looked like before all the additions.
All the beautiful porches.
I believe that the art gallery edition is the first art gallery edition is
on that
on the left hand side there, but this would have been the original home. It did have the wraparound porch that you can see, the tall kind of, I call it a cupola. I don't know if that's really the terminology, but there at the top, and then that piece would have had. We do have a piece of original stained glass that's in the facility. It would have been at the top of that, I believe.
Wow.
And now we just have it at the top of our staircase, has been reinstalled, but that was a part of the original home as well.
That's neat. And this is looking back into the well,
There's the theater.
oh my gosh, this is such an awesome place.
It is a beautiful, beautiful place.
If you haven't been in this, you really need to just go. And if you can hear something in it, I think it's even more fabulous. But
That's
another
looking
one.
straight at the stage.
yeah,
That one was obviously taken towards the back, so you can see that you have a great view from really anywhere.
Yeah.
So
and then
this is the balcony.
And I
section.
think visiting the balcony is amazing. It's such an elegant feel in the balcony, with all the carpet, and you're closer to all the gold leaf,
Right.
which I think is awesome. It's just the renovation of the theater itself was done so well. I think it makes it a venue that rivals any in the country, I think.
Well, and when they were doing the renovation, they built a flooring that went right up to the ceiling, so the artisans could sit and paint with, just right there, right up next to the ceiling, and that was pretty amazing. I had a chance to walk on that. I would not, recommend that to most people because it was a little daunting, but it was pretty amazing to watch the renovation.
Yep.
So, and that's an older picture of Hoyt Sherman that
It
is
is-
in the house.
Is
And
that
that's-
actually a painting?
It is, yep, and it's in the library room that we have at Hoyt Sherman Place. It was painted, I believe, the year before he passed away, so
I
right
see.
towards the end of his life.
And someone found it in the archives at the State Historical Building, and so it's actually on loan
Oh,
from the state of
my.
Iowa for us, which is great.
Yep.
So
And then
Just another one, kind of a street view. You can kind of see how things have changed around the community, but that is the original mansion as well, and then kind of the gates leading up to it with the street there, the kind of path that you would take your horse up or whatever.
I think we're back to the beginning. So that was our little magical tour of Hoyt Sherman through the value of digital electronics. But again, encouraging people to go to Hoyt Sherman Place and spend time there. So for people who are interested, how do they learn more? What's the best way to get connected with Hoyt Sherman Place?
I would say first check out our website, hoytsherman.org is a great resource. We have lists of all of our upcoming events. We have, more information about the facility, about the board of directors, about Hoyt Sherman himself, about the women's club. If they're interested in getting involved in the women's club, there's a way to kind of link to the women's club website, and then also more information about who to contact if you're interested in having an event. We're also always looking for volunteer ushers for our shows and things like that. So there's plenty of ways to get involved. We're always excited to have new people on board. So yeah.
Talk about volunteer ushers. I didn't realize you took volunteer ushers. So
Yeah,
that
we do.
That
Yep.
sounds kind of intriguing.
We do have volunteer ushers. They would go through, my coworker Becky's responsible for all the volunteers, and she puts on a great training program that they go through to learn kind of all of the ins and outs of the building. And then we just require that they arrive an hour and 15 minutes before the show. And then they're able to tear tickets, lead patrons to their seats, answer any questions about restrooms or, merchandise, concessions, whatever they might be looking for. And then they are required to stay through intermission of the show. And then if they want to stay and watch some of it and there's available seats, they're welcome to do so. Otherwise, they can head home. But it's a great opportunity. A lot of people, it's a good way for them to enjoy a show and spend some time volunteering in a great space. Our ushers are the best. So it's another way to just meet some new people and have a lot of fun together.
Oh, that sounds like I didn't realize you did that. So that's awesome. So the website, getting involved as a volunteer, what if people are interested in using the facility, who do they contact as far as rental and what's available? I know there's all sorts of things you can do there, so how would they find out about that?
That would usually be to contact me. All my information's on the website as well. I'm the events manager, so I usually deal with all the theater bookings, and my coworker Becky deals with the gallery ones, but we're kind of interchangeable. We work very closely together. So one of the two of us can help you if you're interested in having an event. And we'd be happy to kind of work with you on available dates and cost and all of that. So,
But keeping the facility alive, which obviously has been done successfully for many years, but going into the future, there are challenges with having the resources, especially as there are cuts in government programs that might keep historic facilities intact. So if people want to make sure that Hoyt Sherman stays Hoyt Sherman and part of the entertainment scene in Des Moines, what can they do?
They can, we are always expanding our base of membership and our donor base. And for people who would be interested in donating, they can either contact me directly at 244-0507, and my extension is 210, or there's a way that you can also donate online. And then we also would always be glad to send out additional information to people who would like to know more about the organization. We know that people's discretionary dollars are their discretionary dollars. Yep. And, we feel that we can always make a great case as to why Hoyt Sherman would be a great investment of their dollars. It's an amazing organization. It really is. There's a lot to invest in. There's so many different ways that their dollars can be effective.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason I was interested in having you on outside the box, because really the women's club could have just kept the building, could have tried to manage it, but really thought outside the box and realized that wasn't what their core business was, and found a way to not only preserve the building, but to preserve their own group and offer it more to the community as a resource, which is huge. So hopefully people will continue to look at that mission and see how they can find themselves in it. If you love anything history, it's definitely a place to visit.
The historical aspect is amazing. And, we have materials that people can come in and read. We have letters. We have information about the history. One of my favorite things is that Mrs. Sherman's sister, who actually would come and stay at the house when they were traveling, she kind of did a written tour where she talked about the different rooms and what their purpose was. And that's one of my favorite documents that we have, because it really makes you, kind of sends you back into that period of time to have a really good understanding of what an amazing house that he built, and that he had its purpose in mind, and he wanted the house to remain. He did not ever want it to be destroyed. He wanted it to remain. We've lost a lot of great old houses.
Right adjacent, actually, to Hoyt Sherman Place. The Yonkers house is gone. I mean, there are some awesome facilities that have been lost over the years.
Right. And if you think about Grand Avenue, how many huge houses there used to be down there, that are no longer there. It's important to maintain this type of historical perspective in our community.
And the fact that the home is also benefits the community as an entertainment venue, and people want to come to Des Moines to perform here. Just to me is just a kind of icing on the cake and a real added benefit.
Right.
So if people want to find the website, where do they find it?
It's at www.hoytsherman.org, and all of the information you could be looking at is right there. So
yeah, and I have to say the other thing is that if you ever get a chance to visit the box office at Hoyt Sherman Place, the people there are awesome. The idea of actually going and buying tickets for something, a lot of people don't do that anymore, but it's a great opportunity to kind of visit an old-fashioned box office, if you will, and be helped and stand in line, and there's a curtain, and it's pretty awesome.
You can park right outside the door.
Yes, you can.
In about 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think it took me 30 seconds, but anyway. Well, Mary, I appreciate your joining me.